I know when we're onboarding a client, it's really important to do the training, and we've got a training program inside of Pure Bookkeeping that people can put their staff through to make sure that they're doing best practice. So once you've put staff on, you want to make sure they're doing it your way. So you've done the skills test or some type of testing mechanism, and you've identified where they need the learning. So it's not always that you're going to put somebody on that is 100% past the skills test. They might only pass 80%, or, they've got some deficiencies in some area. That gives you an opportunity to train them in those areas. So it's not always a bad thing that they don't know certain things. It's just a way of identifying where their weaknesses are and where you can give them some more support. So, there is that in, upskilling your staff member by identifying that. Certainly a training program that helps them, as I said, go through best practice. And then also for each one of your clients to have, the client manual and your checklists in there for them to know their expectations, but also little training videos on how to do the work so that they know exactly what they need to do with that. And as you mentioned before, Deb, that you're constantly updating your client manuals, your checklist, your training videos. So if a staff is going, I'm continually doing this wrong, or, whatever the situation, that you can add that extra, information into the client manual and the Loom, we suggest using Loom as training videos. So it's just cementing the success of that staff member by, onboarding them. You've got the induction process, the training process, all of the checklists and client manuals there ready for them to go. And then it's just a matter of supervision and maintenance.
Yeah.
How did you treat the supervision, Deb?
Yeah, I Natalie mentioned before that, sometimes people have the expectation that if I get a good bookkeeper, then I can just hand it over because all bookkeepers do things the same way. And my saying, which many of you would have heard before, is if you put 10 bookkeepers in a room, there would be 10 different ways of doing the same task, and some of them would be wrong. So that's what I lived by. That was my mantra. I knew that. And so I didn't care whether they had 30 years bookkeeping experience. I did ask for a minimum of 2 years bookkeeping experience, but it didn't matter if it was 2 or 32. I said, right, now you're on board, you're part of the team. Now these are my systems. So and for the very experienced bookkeepers, I had to, go carefully sometimes, because I would say, I know this might sound like I'm trying to explain how to suck eggs or something like that, but you've got to understand from my perspective, if you put 10 bookkeepers in a room, there'd be 10 different ways of doing the same thing, and some of them will be wrong. So what I want you to come on board is so that you're doing it the way everyone else is doing it. And because you're an experienced bookkeeper, your way of doing things, and when I say doing things, I'm talking about even saving files, saving PDFs, and where people save them and what folders they put them in. That was a nightmare for me when I made the assumption initially is, great, I've got a good bookkeeper, now go away and get the work done and come back to me. And then I'm checking the work and I don't, where have they done that and where have they filed this? And I wasted hours and hours trying to get into their heads. So what I did was I swapped that around and I said, well, I want you to get into my head. So this is my business. This is the way I run it. These are my systems. So I'm now going to provide you the ongoing training so that you learn what my systems are, and feel free to contribute. If you think you know a better way or something that's more efficient or something like that, absolutely tell me, because we've got, one of my core values is open and honest communication. So keep that. It's not that I'm the god of systems. It's I'm a bookkeeper and I have my system. If you know something that's better, feel free to contribute to that. And if I think it's a great idea, then I'll incorporate that, and then I'll train all the other people on my team. So it becomes a collaborative thing where they don't feel like I'm the god of systems. It's like, this is a system that I have created, but, you know, feel free to collaborate. I'm not the holder of all the knowledge. You know, you can contribute as well. And that's a respectful way to communicate with your staff.
One of the things I used to do was meet weekly with my staff and just go, and they would present me with their workload for the coming week. And then we'd talk about priorities and we'd talk about any issues that they would have. So it's, as you say, the good communication, checking in with them, and, you know, do that weekly, make sure that they were on track, let them know what they needed to complete by the end of the week, in particular, if I, you know, wanted BASs out or whatever it was, and help them nudge the work along as well. If they're, sometimes bookkeepers will just put their head in the sand or staff, I should say, if their clients aren't hassling them, they're not going to hassle the clients for the work, for the, you know, the information they need. And like, you know, they'll just often say, well, make excuses. The client didn't get back to me, so I haven't got back to them. So, you know, as a leader, you do need to still, you know, check in on the staff to make sure the processes are being done and why is it not being followed up, and put a system in place for exactly that. If they don't respond by this time, you respond, you follow up then, and then you follow up, and then you tell them what you're going to do. So it's, you know, putting those boundaries around your clients, but also around your staff, how they respect those boundaries too. And then you're having monthly reports, and, you know, I used to have every 6 weeks a training day to train them in something around the softwares. And then your KPIs as well are really important to, you know, bring some of those things into the business to make sure the staff are on track.